Well, hi, everybody. I'm AJ Willoughby. So glad to be here with you again tonight. We have got a great night. We have got not just the head of the M Network Medical Advisory Board, Dr. Fred Templeman, but we've got a special guest. And Fred, do you want to do the, Dr. Templeman, you want to do the introduction? You want me to introduce Dale here? We've got some.
I can introduce Dale and give a little bit of background. I was talking to the person who sold Dale his first box of the new Core. And Dale's story was one of about 11 stories that I was looking at, but his was the most striking of the 11 because of the challenges that he's been facing over the past few years and the remarkability of the response that his body has had as soon as he started to give it the right stuff. So what we're going to do is let Dale tell the audience about the history, really, over 5 minutes or so of your life and the challenge that you've had with your health, and then what has happened since you started to use the Core.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dale. I'm 55 years old. I have severe cirrhosis of the liver. I have ankylosing spondylitis, which Dr. Templeman will probably expound on a little bit further. I almost died in 2010, so I'm struggling to get my health back. I've tried several different products, spent a lot of money on things that didn't work, and I'm a skeptic. I have to admit I'm a skeptic, but my cirrhosis of the liver is caused by severe drinking. I knock on wood, I don't drink anymore. I haven't drank for many, many years now, but it's taken a toll on my body, and I'm trying to recover from that. But I started taking the Core 15 days ago. I got my first box from Lisa. She got me hooked up. It's a funny story. I posted on my Facebook page that I had crap. What are those warts?
Shingles.
Shingles.
Yeah.
I posted on my Facebook page that I had shingles, and Lisa said, there's a product that I need to get into your hands, Dale, that will help you battle that from the inside out. And I said, okay, I'm willing to give it a try because shingles hurt, as some of you know, very, very severely. So I was willing to give anything a try at that point. So she got me my first box, and I actually ran right over here to the warehouse and picked it up the day she ordered it for me. Took it home and started taking it right away. Well, I started taking it, and 3 days later, I woke up one morning and I texted Lisa and I said, Lisa, I said, I've got a situation I need to talk to you about. Text me when you're up. So she texted me when she was up. I said, you told me this was a healer from the inside out. So I said, I've got some questions for you that I want you to answer for me. And she says, what's that? And I said, well, I woke up this morning and my ankles aren't swollen. I said, my knees aren't swollen. I said, I'm still in a little bit of discomfort, but my arthritis has really been a challenge for me over the last few years since I got diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis. And it's been very hard for me to get up in the morning and get moving. It takes me about 45 minutes to an hour to actually get up and get moving. Well, I woke up and my ankles weren't swollen. I was able to get up and get moving in like a half an hour. On the third day that I was taking the Core, and she shot a bunch of answers back to me, and I asked her a bunch more questions. And so we went back and forth for the next few days, and the symptoms just kept going away, and I kept getting better responses. Well, on day 5, I stopped taking my inflammatories altogether because I didn't need them. And I was kind of like, this is kind of odd that this kind of thing can happen, especially to somebody like me who's been fighting this for so long and been struggling with the pain that I've dealt with and trying to get out of bed in the morning and just to get going. So I pinged Lisa again, and we chatted back and forth, and she talked to me some more. And so I stopped taking the inflammatories altogether. And as some of you may know, some of you may not know, inflammatories raise your enzyme levels in your liver. And I have been fighting with my enzyme levels in my livers for years, trying to get them back down to normal, where they should be. So that was another thing that I started taking a look at. Well, I kept on taking it. I take 2 a day, 1 in the morning, 1 at night. Well, I found out from Dr. Templeman that I was taking them wrong. I wasn't taking them with food. So I started taking them with food, and I'm curious to see what the outcome is going to be in 30, 60, 90 days. But I'm telling you, it is a godsend to me. I am so thankful that Lisa reached out to me and said, I've got this product for you. My liver enzymes, I had my liver panel done on the 5th. And my liver enzymes are normal. And that haven't been normal for 5 years.
It's better than mine.
And I honestly don't know if it's the core that did it, but the only thing that I have introduced into my lifestyle in the last 15 days has been the core. That's been the only change that I have had in my life the last 15 days to bring all this stuff back into check.
Now, what did your doctor say to you?
My doctor, I went in and had my panel done. And when they do my panel, they do a wide spectrum panel. They test my thyroid, they test my liver enzymes, they test my kidney, they test my creatinine, they test the whole thing. I have this done every 3 months. I've had it done every 3 months since I almost died in 2010. Every 3 months, it's like clockwork. I go in, I have it done. Well, I went in the doctor, and the doctor sat me down, and he says, I have good news and I have bad news. And I said, what's that? And she said, well, your thyroid's too high. And I said, okay. I said, how do we fix that? She goes, well, we need to take you off your thyroid medication. I said, is that a wise thing to do? And she goes, well, that's what we have you on to bring your thyroid up, but your thyroid is way too high. So I said, okay. So we took me off that medication. Well, she looked at my legs and my ankles and my knees, and she said, you're not retaining water anymore. What are you doing differently? And I said, well, I'll tell you. What else do you have to tell me? She goes, well, your liver enzymes are normal. They haven't been normal for years, Dale. And I said, well, okay. I said, what else? She said, well, your creatinine in your kidneys is at 1.16. Well, that hasn't been there for a long time. 1.16 is within normal range. So all these things she's telling me, I'm thinking to myself, okay, the core, it's got to be the core. That's the only thing I've changed in my life. That's the only thing that I've been taking in the last 15 days that has changed in my life. So again, I pinged Lisa, and then I pinged my doctor back. And so my doctor said, what are you doing? What are you doing differently? So I called her and we started talking, and she goes, I need more information about this core. I want to know what it is you're taking because it's doing something to you that's good for you. So I got her all the information. Lisa worked with me and got me all the information that I needed to get to the doctor. So my doctor has it all. So now she can go review it and she can go read it and she can do what she wants with it. But I'm interested to see what her feedback's going to be from what I sent her.
And I have already told the doctor that I'm quite willing to have a conversation with her about my experience with my patients and some of the ingredients which are included in the core. Now, if I can, what I'm going to try and do is explain how I, as a doctor, knowing what I know about antioxidants, and particularly the antioxidants that are in the core, I'm going to talk a little bit about why it makes sense that if Dale has been giving these nutrients to his body and he didn't have the appropriate amount of these nutrients, specifically antioxidants, that would have made a difference for his continuing conditions. Now, something else that's interesting is that Dale was on an opiate-derived pain medication as well, and I don't think you're on it anymore.
No, I'm not.
So this is not a small change. This is a remarkable change for him in only 2 weeks. Now, knowing the half-life of most of these natural compounds in here, it would be enough for me to say that he's been on it regularly long enough to have blood levels. In other words, there is always some that is taken out by the body and used by the body, so you have to put more in, and gradually over time, depending on the half-life of the ingredients, you will obtain levels that remain stable in your blood, and then after that, you will obtain levels that are stable in your tissues. And it means that in the case of most of the situations where the body is able to bring some help from the supplements to these kind of chronic illnesses, that when you get to your tissue levels, when you've been on it for about 3.5 weeks, and Dale's not yet there, he hasn't been on it that long, but he is deriving significant benefits already when he only has blood levels. I expect, therefore, that continuing on as he is now with a twice-a-day dosage with food, and the food is necessary to make certain that there are a number of these antioxidants which are fat soluble. In the mangosteen, for example, 40% of the actives, which we call xanthones, cannot be appropriately absorbed without at least a little bit of fat in the gut. And so by taking it with food, and the animal experiments that have been done show that this is the case, you will have a greater amount that is absorbed and therefore in the periphery, in the bloodstream, and in the tissues to be able to bring about the changes that Dale has seen. Now, we cannot say that Dale's ankylosing spondylitis, and I'm going to talk about that for just a minute. It's a type of very insidious arthritis, more common in males than in females, and that primarily affects the joints of the spine. And you know that there's a slight amount of articulation that goes on between the joints in the spine as they move sideways, forwards, and back. But what happens in ankylosing spondylitis is that there is an inflammation of the disc portion and the portion of the bone that sits on that disc between the two areas, and it becomes so inflamed that the bone actually grows from the top and the bottom up and forms a bony joint, so that you end up with something that is called bamboo spine. And it means that as you look at a piece of bamboo, you see that there are segments, and these segments do not articulate, and they become wider than the regular shaft of the bamboo. And that's what happens in the back with ankylosing spondylitis. But it isn't restricted only to the spine joints, but that is where it is primarily seen. And it's a very, very nasty disease that medicine has not been able to help tremendously, except with drugs, such as Dale was on, that are going to affect the liver, amongst other things. And therefore, an elevation in liver enzymes from a chronic use of non-steroidal anti-inflammatories is not an unusual thing. The same non-steroidal anti-inflammatories damage kidney function, and Dale had been experiencing that as well. Now, the liver, luckily, is one of the few organs in the body that can regenerate.
Regrow itself.
It can regrow itself. Once you stop the insults, and it's been many years now since Dale had been using alcohol. And by the way, in alcoholic cirrhosis, it's interesting that the alcohol acts as a toxin against the lining of the gut and allows a situation which can be called leaky gut. And leaky gut allows certain large molecules that normally cannot get out of the gut into the periphery, into the bloodstream, and ergo around the body. And the immune system reacts to those large molecules, which never should be out there. And so there was a study done a number of years ago that indicated that only people who have that much damage in their gut from alcohol, that those who have the leaky gut syndrome are those that end up with cirrhosis. Those who have damage, but it does not get to the level of being a leaky gut, do not have cirrhosis. So again, another linkage here, and how the reduction of the intake of alcohol has been probably the most important thing that he has done. But the liver is the detoxifying organ of the body. When we get pollutants in our food or in our air or anything that comes into the body in the form of either food or respiratory intake or water, those things, unfortunately, in our environment are all polluted. And it is the liver's job to get rid of those. Now, in Dale's case, because the buildup from the protein metabolism, if you eat something that's protein, when you break that down, you produce nitrates, you produce ammonia, and that is going to poison your brain. And so Dale is currently on a medication because his nitrogenous wastes had grown up so much that he had what was called encephalopathy. Now, they might call it alcoholic encephalopathy, but in this particular case, the alcohol is no longer present. Nonetheless, there were excessive amounts of these damaging particles in his body that they gave him a drug, which is new and experimental. And how much does that drug cost per month?
$2,624 a month.
$2,624 a month. But Dale no longer has an elevation of his liver enzymes. So in addition to being able to stop his non-steroidal anti-inflammatories and the pain medications, which were necessary for him to be able to get up and move around, and which were causing his kidney dysfunction and the swelling in his legs and a number of things related to that, he probably is going to be able to get his doctor's permission in the near future to stop this tremendously expensive drug for $2,624 a month that was intended to allow him to think clearly.
Guess who I'm calling next?
So, I mean, he's certainly thinking clearly now, and I don't think it's just the drugs, because the premise of supplementation is that there are things which we should be getting in the form of food and nutrients from our environment that we are not getting, and that's why we supplement. Go to the web and look up an article from Scientific American called Dirt Poor. And there are many, many other examples of this. But the soil in which our food is grown no longer produces the same amount of nutrients for our body. And there is an example in there that will be striking for you that shows that if you were eating a salad from 1914, you would need one serving to get the same number of nutrients from the same things grown in the same place in the United States today. It would take 7.5 servings of salad. Simply not possible, even though there are many, many of my colleagues out there who say, if you eat properly, you can get all the nutrients that you want from your food. I tell you that if, first of all, everybody were eating as much broccoli as they should, you'd have to sell your car to buy the broccoli for the week if they were doing that. So it's not there. We need to use supplements. In other words, if there are ways of extracting concentrated forms of the nutrients from the plants that are grown in the nutrient-poor soil, in other words, if we do some of the work that the body would normally do for digestion, and we give it a pre-digested or a pre-processed form of some of the nutrients that we require, that's going to let the body work so much more efficiently. Now, when we talk about someone with a case like Dale, we don't say anything that we've given him has cured cirrhosis. It's his own body of using the elements that he's given it in adequate amounts that has probably been responsible for his body correcting the imbalance that was giving him cirrhosis. That plus the fact that he's taken the lifestyle changes to be able to assure that he isn't taking in the toxin of alcohol in the amount that he was that caused the damage. But the benefits are systemic. It isn't limited to just one system. And again, we don't talk about the cure or the treatment even of arthritis, whether it's ankylosing spondylitis or rheumatoid arthritis or any of the other things. We don't talk about the cure or the treatment of certain immune modulated, because his ankylosing spondylitis and the disease which caused his hypothyroidism are both dysfunctions of the body's immune system. They have looked at the material in his joints and the material in his thyroid and have said this stuff is dangerous, and so the body is attacking itself. Being able to give it certain of the nutrients that it requires, and again, this particular product has been designed with the immune system in mind. And if you go and take, for example, the green tea extract, I had someone the other day call me and say, I didn't know that there was caffeine in the core. And I said, there is no caffeine in the core. And they said, but there's a green tea extract in there. And I had to explain to her that green tea has a large number of ingredients in it and that you extract depending on what you want. And that what we are extracting in this extraction is a substance called epigallocatechin gallate. And if you look that up on PubMed, you'll find more than 5,000 articles about this particular catechin, a class of very important molecule that this is present in the green tea, and what it will do for the body. If you look at specifically the ability of the ECGC to be involved in situations that are specific to arthritis, you'll find 48 papers. If you go to mangosteen, which is another one of the products that is in ingredient that is in here, and by the way, this is a constantly changing situation. We have now had 4 iterations of this, and this gives me the opportunity of kind of paying a compliment to M, because one of their logos is the only constant at M is progress. So if something comes onto the market that appears to be strikingly in tune with what we're doing, we will take something out of it that is less effective and put that new product back in there, which is what we did with this particular form, which now has astragalus, which is a Chinese herb associated with a number of benefits in the body, including both liver and kidney benefits. And we will put that in and we will take something else out. And the actual proprietary blend, which is a number of the ingredients that are specific, and we don't post that out there because we don't want the neighbors to imitate. But that proprietary blend has been quadrupled in this product in less than a year and a half. That kind of flexibility just does not exist out there in the supplement industry. And so, am I excited about this? Absolutely. Is Dale excited about it? I think so. Dale was a customer only until, when did you sign up?
Day before yesterday.
So he signed up the day before yesterday because has he got a story to talk about? And he was telling me, what were your coworkers saying to you?
Oh, they're telling me my whole attitude's changed because I'm not in pain. You know, somebody stopped me this morning and they said, Dale, what are you doing? And I said, what do you mean, what am I doing? And this is not the first person that said something to me about it. She said, you're bubbly, you're cheery, you're happy. And I said, so have you just noticed that? She goes, in the last couple of weeks, you become a different person. And it's because I don't hurt. I can walk. I actually walked last Monday. I actually walked a whole mile without stopping, without hurting, without massaging my knees or massaging my ankles to get through the rest of the mile. It was incredible.
How long has it been since you could do it?
It's been probably 4 or 5 years since I could walk a whole mile without doing that.
Now, you did something else that I asked you about. What was that? When I said to you about the flexibility of your spine.
Oh, I actually bent over and touched the tips of my fingers to the floor. I can't put my hand on the floor yet, but I was actually able to bend over and touch the tips of my fingers to the floor. That I haven't been able to do for a long time either. That was exciting.
So here's the message about supplements. Our bodies are intended to be able to rectify the vast majority of the insults that we encounter from our environment and from unhealthy lifestyles. But if we do not give them adequate amounts of the raw materials, ergo the nutrients that they require, and if they cannot get, even with the best efforts in diet, an adequate amount of the nutrients that their bodies require, then supplementation makes all the sense in the world. I've always said since the beginning of being tied to this industry, diet, exercise, supplementation for optimal health. Now, in that order, and in terms of diet, he eliminated a toxin from his diet a number of years ago, and his body began to make progress towards health. But it wasn't until he was able to give it more of the subtle nutrients that perhaps were not available in his diet in the amounts that they were required, that his body wasn't able to fix things the way that it has. Now, can we say that this is for the treatment, the cure, or the diagnosis of any given disease? Absolutely not. The kind of scientific proof that would allow us legally to say those kinds of things simply does not exist. But there is another kind of proof, and it is limited in terms of being the fourth most favorable kind of evidence or proof in medical science, but it is anecdotal report. When someone protected by the First Amendment says, I'm telling you what happened to me, this is my story, we are permitted to say that. We can't say, this helped my aunt, this helped my neighbor. We can't do that. The aunt and the neighbor have to talk about that. But we individually, just like Dale has done today, we can talk about that. And that is likely going to tweak the interest of the people who see us. For example, his coworkers who see that he is different in a visible and tangible way than he was just a few weeks ago. They're going to be asking him questions. And you can feel real good, like Lisa probably does today, to be able to say, my friend Dale, because you were friends with Lisa before.
Yeah, I've been friends with Lisa for a few years.
So she can say, my friend Dale is doing so much better. Why? Because I introduced him to a supplement at a reasonable price that appears to be letting his body rectify a number of serious problems that he has been struggling with.
Because I had shingles. That's how it started.
That's how it started, with the shingles. And by the way, there is a nasty kind of side effect to shingles called post-herpetic neuralgia, which if you're over the age of 55, when you have shingles, about 25% of people never get rid of the pain, even though the lesions disappear. He did not have that. And I have seen many others who, having had shingles, have reduced, without prednisone, without steroids, have reduced the occurrence rate of this very nasty side effect. Not we can say that you can't treat shingles with this, but we can say, give your body something that's going to strengthen the immune system, because shingles comes out when a certain kind of white cell protective of our health, called a lymphocyte, goes into low supply and is unable to protect against the emergence of this virus, which hibernates, if you want to think about it, in the ganglia alongside our spine, where they've been ever since we had chicken pox as a child. So very important stories that will make your lives better, even by just listening to them, and let you feel good, like I'm sure that Lisa feels good, and feel better yet the way Dale does.
If there's any skeptics out there listening, put that skeptic back in your pocket, leave it there, and listen.
Yeah, this has been a pleasure for me to talk again about the magnificent products that I'm not ashamed to say are the best in the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so a couple quick questions for both of you here. Now, first, I know, Dale, when you started taking the product, you were just kind of taking any time. You were noticing effects even before Dr. Templeman came and said you were taking it wrong.
Yes.
So now, as far as taking it wrong, so people take the core all the time, different ways, and they get effects. But tell us, what are the advantages to taking it with food, Dr. Templeman?
Okay, I'm drinking it right now, and I haven't eaten, and I'm probably not going to eat for an hour. So that means that there are about 40% of the xanthones, the active ingredients that are unique to this mangosteen product and can't be found anywhere else in any other supplement. About 40% of them will be suboptimally absorbed from my gut. They will pass on through, and I will not benefit from them because they're fat soluble. And having a little piece of cheese, a few nuts, and by the way, there's some nuts over there, so I'm going to get some of those simply to make a difference. But you don't need much. You need a wedge of cheese, a couple or 3 or 4 cashews or something like that. And when you do that, you've got enough fat in your gut to be able to mix with these antioxidants that are going to be in the product, and you will absorb just that much more. But that means that there's 60% of them that can be absorbed without the presence of the food, and those 60% were sufficient to be able to have him have the response that he did.
Wonderful. And how many were you taking a day, Dale?
2.
Two sticks a day.
1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon.
All right. And with this now, Dr. Templeman, you and I, we've discussed, and I don't think I have seen you this excited about anything in we've known each other for years and years, and to see you this excited about a product, as you are about the CoreAO and the results that we're seeing, has been just something that every time I talk, I was like, he's bouncing off the walls. He loves it.
Well, there are a few reasons for that. I'm a mangosteen guy. I consider myself the mangosteen doc. I've used it in my patients for years in another form where it competed with a car payment in order to be able to get enough of it to make a difference for your body. Now you're competing for, dinner at, we've got a place here called AJ's where we can actually get a pretty good deal. So
I like that place.
AJ's and a movie. That's it for a month's supply. I've always wanted to see the mangosteen more accessible to the general population because I've watched the differences in my patients and in other people now for 18 years. And I want the whole world to have access to it. And I know of no better product at the present time than this. And I think the next best product when there's something better than this, it's going to be here as well that you'll find it. And it won't be for the price of a car payment.
And for those that are wondering what he's saying that are not seeing the video, when he says this, he's holding up a carton of the CoreAO, by the way.
That's the product in the world right now for mangosteen.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll tell you, it's stories like this that really makes the difference because, we've got so many people out there that are dealing with issues, and people that, we have members that are, they'll say, well, you know what, I'm afraid to mention this to my friend because I don't want them to feel like I'm pushing something or that I'm trying to make money off of them. Listen to this story, folks. This is life-changing products. By not sharing what is happening with these products, you are actually doing a disservice to someone who is going through these similar things, dealing with inflammation, dealing with the pain and the joints and those things, you're doing them a disservice. It's not something where you're trying to make money off them. You are trying to help them, and you'd get rewarded for helping them. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That is what business is about. But the thing is, this is a product that is not just getting results, it's changing lives. And when you realize that, and you realize what it is you have in your hand, and what you've got in that box of CoreAO and the power of it, as the stories that have been coming in, and we're going to be doing this every week. We're going to start letting you all hear more and more of the testimonies and things that are happening with the different products. But the thing is that is what you need to really grasp, is that you have something that is life-changing. To hold it to yourself because you're afraid to tell someone about it because, well, I don't want them to think I'm trying to make money off of it. What do you think the prescription companies out there are doing? That's all that they are about, is making money. We are about helping people, and you're helping people, and at the same time you get rewarded for it. What a better combination.
Well, I'm down 6 prescriptions now as of my last doctor visit, and I'm replacing this with my medication right now.
Can you imagine the smile on his pharmacist's face every time he walks in for the $2,600 per month prescription?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is actually saving you a whole lot of money, Dale.
Well, out of that $2,600, my copay is $491. So I don't pay the whole $2,600, but still the copay is very expensive.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Another question that was asked, what are the best foods to be taking with Core, Dr. Templeman?
Anything that you eat, because unfortunately, in the North American diet, there's always going to be enough fat to be able to bring about the digestion. So don't worry about it. If it's a salad, it will be the salad dressing that will have the fat. If it's going to be any other plate of normal North American food, it's going to have way more fat than you require.
Okay, so a Twinkie will work, right?
I wouldn't recommend it.
Nice try, AJ.
I'm just going for it, I just figured, it's got the funny. Okay. Well, again, thank you so much, Dale. Your story has been amazing. It's a life-changing story that I know that people are hearing there already. Their minds are going as far as, oh my word, I didn't really realize the power that we have here. And I know of so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so that I could be helping with this. Dr. Templeman, do you have anything else before we sign off here tonight? Or Dale, either one of them?
No.
No guarantee that everyone's going to have the same remarkable response to adding nutrients that his body requires that Dale has had. But isn't it worth the try?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As I first said, I was a skeptic. I've always been a skeptic. And when Lisa told me she had this for me to try, I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And she got me my first box, and I'm telling you, after 3 days, this has been a life-changing experience for me. This is wow. This is wow.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much, and we will have this recording available for people to pull up at mnetworkcalls.com. You'll be able to go and see it there, and it'll also be on the M Network YouTube channel so that you have access, so you can send this out to people if you want that may have a question to it. Get it to others in your team. They need to hear Dale's story. And don't forget, we're going to be having more stories like this, because the stories like this is not just a one-time thing. This is something that we're seeing this happening every day with this. So make sure that you're telling people about it and getting things going. This is really, really incredible.
AJ,
thank you. Yes.
We're talking about the 3Z product. I put out a little questionnaire, 96 responses. I've got to find the best ones in 96.
All right. So next week, we're talking M3Z our sleep aid, and a whole lot more than just a sleep aid. And just wait to hear what it is that's the testimonies and the things that's happening with that. So it's going to be incredible. Don't forget, tomorrow night we have the business training, the corporate training call that is going to be going on with Ryan Anderson and special guests that are on there. So you want to tune in for that. And then Saturday, Dennis Ligon does the business corporate team training that is on Saturday mornings. So make sure you're getting plugged into those calls. There's also calls. There's the CAT call on Thursday and Andy's call on Monday during the day, morning time. So lots of calls out there. mnetworkcalls.com. Again, mnetworkcalls.com. Go there. You can see what's going on and check out the Facebook pages also for other team calls and things that are happening.